Hello and welcome to Indy Real. I'm J77, and today I'm going to be talking about a movie that I was actually looking forward to seeing for a very long time since I saw the trailers for it. I actually saw two of the same trailers, just one internationally and one in the U.S., and that was Mr. Holmes, starring Ian McKellen, who, in my opinion, have done a tremendous job playing this role. This is his role, and he dominated this role. I think he did a very great job playing Sherlock Holmes the best way he knows how. Everybody did a great job with this movie, and this is a movie I will say that I was very, very eager and very happy to see at the same time, because this is a film that I think a lot of people, when they saw the trailer, they didn't know what to think about, because it's not a Holmes that's this generation is used to seeing. If you read any of the Sherlock novels, you probably say, yeah, they nailed it. But if you just go by the previous movies that Robert Downey Jr. have done, to even the masterpiece of Sherlock, starring Benedict Cumberbatch, and even the Americanized CSI version of Elementary Sherlock, you probably won't appreciate, or may I say, like this film, as for those who actually read the novels and actually knew the the style of what Sherlock Holmes have done to solve his cases. Needless to say, there was a legitimate reason why this was not a major release, and why I think they called it right. BBC Films have called it right when releasing this film on a limited basis. Surprisingly enough, this film has actually done pretty well for its limited release. It's actually, as I'm speaking right now, had drawn 4 million, which is very, very impressive considering the limited amount of advertisements that was there. I mean, pretty much the best advertisement they had was on YouTube, and I think perhaps word of mouth, because the word of mouth is great, and it deserves it, because this is a good movie. And what is the movie about? Well, the movie focuses primarily on Holmes, a 93-year-old Sherlock Holmes, who is very frail, whose memory is pretty much deteriorating right before our eyes, and he is trying to correct a case that was written by his friend Watson, but was not written in the way he remembered it. He knew it was wrong, he knew it was over exaggerated, and he wants to set the record straight. However, he's having a hard time remembering how the story went, and we see through flashbacks that this was a very important case, because it was just the last case, and perhaps one of the most troubling cases, that gave a reason why he retired in the first place. This film also pretty much done something that I didn't think they would actually do, even though what the trailer was hinting. It pretty much separated some of the myth that still goes on today in Sherlock Holmes lore versus the actual man. And Ian McKellen has played it very, very well. His side of deduction is right on key, and we are following his adventures through three different stages. We are following it, for one, his frail old age; two, him trying to seek remedies in Japan by a person who knows him, through a connection of his of a relative that has disappeared, and only Sherlock Holmes would know, but his memory pretty much is not connecting with him. But he's there for a reason. He's actually looking for a way to stop his memory loss. And three, you're seeing the case, the last case he have done, and all three of these flashback sequences work fine hand in hand. The story is very, very interesting, because we're following him going through the trials and tribulation of his memory, and with the help of his boy, in many ways, he's slowly reconciling his memories. He befriended the boy who helps him tend to the bees, who's also doing a case himself, finding out why the bees are suddenly passing on. And even though they hinted of what happened in the beginning, it hasn't become the main focus of that story to pretty much about the end of the movie. And even with that, it really leaves you pretty much on the edge, because I'm not going to give away any spoilers here, but needless to say, there was a certain unsure about one of the characters and how this was going to, and how his faith or her faith was going to be met. But needless to say, you're seeing a different style of Holmes, and yet you're not seeing a different style of Holmes. Let me explain. In terms of people's perception of Holmes is always a person who is always in charge, always in control, to the larger extent, and always, thinking. In this one, we're seeing an aftermath of a case that he have done. We're also seeing how he's not really in control, that his memory is going and it's affecting him in such a way that even he's not used to. He is coming to terms with his faith, which is that he's mortal. He's not immortal, and we're seeing him struggle through trial and tribulation, to the point where even the doctor said, if you come to lose your memory, write down in his diary, write a circle. And this has become a very good point key, because it comes one circle, but then it comes many circles, saying that his memory is getting worse and worse and worse. So you really are seeing a Sherlock Holmes that is basically trying and losing to try and keep as much of his of what he was together. Most importantly, we're also seeing the consequences of him looking at looking at life as one big mystery, one big puzzle, which is something that's always been hinted in many of the stories, how his calculations can sometimes become cold, especially towards how he views human beings. And in this movie, we're seeing the consequences, especially his last case, of how sometimes seeing things in a abstract manner can cause, especially a particular person which you were trying to help. So this movie really plays on that a lot in this film. Another thing you'll notice a lot in this movie is the camera angles, which I have to say it was very daring and very, very well ingenious as well, because the camera angles do a lot of close-ups. And the reason why is you're seeing the expression of the boy, what he's going through, the expression of Holmes, what he's going through, what he's feeling. The housekeeper, which is also which was well played by this actress whose name escaped me. I do apologize. You're seeing her expressions, so the camera angles really picked up on that, more so on Holmes, because you're seeing how he's dealing with things. You're seeing the frail Holmes, and you see it written all over his face. Ian McKellen's nails it in the park. But what you also see, which is actually I actually liked a lot about this film, is how Holmes continues to keep his sign of deduction, and how he's passing on certain secrets to this boy who is really grown a fondness of him, and how he grown a fondness of him. He actually broke into one of his studies and read the story he himself is trying to write, and the reason why he's trying to write it is because he wants to set the record straight of a case that he have lost memory. And as you go in, you may find out it's not really about the fact he lost his memory, it's the fact that this is some probably a case he probably going to forget, but now that he have seen how over exaggerated it is, because he's seen a movie version of himself which he don't approve of, he read one of the stories that he didn't approve of, and he started to take his toe, say, hey, this is not right, I gotta set the record straight. But he's struggling to remember. It's only when he sees bits and pieces of his past that his memory started to really be filled. I really admired what they did with this movie. I really did. This movie was hit Holmes' character right out of the park. Is an A+ performance from beginning, A+ performance from all the actors in this film. This film was well paced, well written in many ways, and it really kept true to the faith of probably the book, which if you guys haven't heard, the people in the States didn't really seem to get done. They pretty much said it was too close to the book. But if they've seen this movie like everybody else have seen this movie, had the privilege of seeing this film, I don't think they have much to complain about. I think they did a great job of keeping the style as well as the image of what Sherlock Holmes have done. And this movie pretty much solidifies what really Holmes is, and how his side of deduction still lives on to this day. It does come with some issues, but not as much as you may think, because this is a film I honestly believe is not for everybody, and I explain why. If you've seen any of the newer Sherlock Holmes adaptations, the two movies that came out with Robert Downey Jr., Sherlock, which by the way is a masterpiece. I am loving that series. I've just recently picked it up, and I want to see more. That's how good the series is. If you have seen even Elementary, you probably may not like this film, and the reason why is it lacks action. This is not an action film. This is a drama. And I know it says crime drama as the genre, but it really is more of a drama, a character study in a character, in a fictional character, in the ways we have never seen this character before. And that's another thing of what I think a lot of people, even some of the purists of Sherlock Holmes fans, may actually have a problem with seeing an old, frail Sherlock Holmes. I think a lot of people cannot accept the fact that here's this guy who is considered to be, even in history, the world's greatest detective. This is a fictional character that made that list, and there's a reason, because how it's written, how he was able to solve cases, how he uses deduction to come up with a conclusion. It is a well-written piece of literature, and like I said, there are a lot of adaptations, a lot of films been made, a lot of radio plays, radio dramas has been made, and yet, if you were more used to seeing him being an action hero, less than losing his brains as how to solve crime, you're probably not going to like the way he did this film. With that being said, it's not for everybody, and that's the whole point. There are many people who I sat through love this film. I love this film because it is a very interesting reimagining, retake on a character that is not perfect, and it proven, especially with this final case that he has solved. You also see how his memory has faded, and also you see how, in many ways, he's still Sherlock Holmes. When push comes to shove, he's still going to use science deduction to get to the root of the problem and solve the problem, and that is one I think if you are a fan of and know Sherlock Holmes well, this doesn't disappoint. It is still Sherlock Holmes, but we're looking at it in a much different light than we're used to. We're seeing Sherlock Holmes still is the clever detective, but also a frail detective, a person who is not perfect, and as well, his sign of deduction is not perfect, because if you've seen this film, and again, I'm not spoiling anything, this led to him pretty much putting himself in exile, which is something that you don't expect from a detective with that much pride. But it showed the stage. It showed the character. It had a beginning, it had a middle, and it had an end. And I think that for the most part, this film delivers on that. This film did not lack away on that. The only knock about this film is it lacks the action that I think a lot of people have grown so used to seeing throughout the last 10 years of seeing a recreation of Holmes. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, this film was not boring. Drama-wise, this film was well written, well done, and the actors were great and fun to watch on the screen. There were some fun moments in this movie. Ian McKellen had put that dry sense of humor, and it worked in this Sherlock Holmes series. He was a smart ass in this movie. Don't make no mistake about it. And kind of hard to deal with in terms of what he was enduring with his servants, which is his maid, which is trying very hard to be patient. She wants to be patient, but it's finding it pretty much unbearable because of the way he is speaking to him, and that's probably one of the flaws of Holmes. He's a little too honest. He's a little bit too much in deduction, and it makes him more colder than what he really is. And it wasn't until that third act that we realized that this guy do have feelings. He do have a conscience, and he did realize that the stuff he has been doing eventually led him for being alone. I'm not gonna say anything else other than that. What's my rating of this film? Out of a rating of 1 to 4, this film easily gets a 3.5 stars. It is a well-written, well-done film, and again, I think that Die Hard fans who not only saw the movies and different plays and different adaptations on TV. I think those who actually read the novels and know what the novels is all about, because as great as Conan Doyle's novel was, it wasn't as action driven as we're seeing the other Holmes now. So this plays into that kind of style. If you looking for out actions, you're probably not gonna like it. Like I said, this was released in selected theaters for a reason, and despite having a great, well-deserved praises from critics, I'm well aware that those who haven't read much of the books but have seen the action adaptation of Sherlock and Elementary and God knows how many movies they're gonna be making these days now, they're not gonna like this movie. So there you have it, guys. There's my feeling about this. What's your feeling about it? I'd like to hear your opinion. Put it in the comment section. Let me know. Until then, J77 saying take care, be safe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.